So it doesn't matter whether you're a small organization or you're a large hospitality organization. I would say for every hotel that you're talking about over here, branding is important. Why is it important? For one, you can actually charge premium pricing if you're able to brand yourself. I just want to share something with you from an organization that is not in hospitality. That's Timberland. Some of you could have heard Timberland. Timberland charges a premium price for their shoes and their clothes. I used to do some training with Timberland as a retail organization, and this is what they do. They look at every single touch point. When the moment the guest arrives, first 10 seconds, 3 steps, you have to look at the customer, connect with them, have eye contact with them, nod and acknowledge the presence of the customer. And everywhere the customer goes, they make sure that a customer connection is done. Whether they're giving a sweet out there, they are having a personal perfume that is in Timberland, every single point, even walking the guests out of what we call the retail patron up to the door. Unlike other retail shops, they do not hand over their product across the counter. But what does that translate to? Despite being a premium brand, we did a conversion exercise. We compared Nike, Adidas, and Timberland. We clicked and looked at the number of people who go into Timberland versus the number of people who enter into Adidas and then Nike, and we find that about 20% convert into buying a product when they come out of Nike, about 30% come out buying something out of Adidas, but Timberland had about 60% conversion rate. That means to say, people who go into Timberland, almost 60% of them buy something from Timberland before they leave. I don't think it's so much about the product, because I think Nike and Adidas also has got superior products. But it is very much, even their merchandise and their displays are wonderful. But what is so different and compelling about Timberland is the kind of every single moment of, or what we call the moment of truth, that they give to the customer when they are in the retail outlet that translate into a business. So it is not about the margins that they charge, but it's about the conviction of the customer who feel that I am ready to part with my money because of the value that this particular retail outlet provides. Okay. The other one is brand loyalty. Now, brand loyalty, it is something that you can only get when there is a connection with the customer. People just don't become loyal to a product, they become loyal to an experience. So I just want to share something with you. I was in Bhutan last week, and I had a conversation with a fellow airline passenger. And she was telling me, I was asking her, where are you staying? And she said to me, I stayed at the Aman. I was there for 14 days. I only stayed at the Aman. And I said to her, why Aman? Because there's Umar, there is Taj over there. There are so many other 5-star hotels. And she said, because of Aman. And that's all she said. Because it's Aman, I only want to stay with the Aman. So I asked her, what is so special? I mean, I've been into Aman, I've been looked at Aman, but I personally feel like I like the other brands in there. But she was telling me, it's the service that Aman provides. And I'm talking about Aman charging on the average 1,800 plus per night. It's not an ordinary hotel. And she stayed for 14 days with her husband in Aman. And she was talking about how they are so careful. It is a hotel that's into bare minimum. They don't have TV connection. They don't provide wireless. So it's very, very bare. I've seen how bare they are. But if a hotel that is looking at bare minimum, and they are able to have a loyal customer who says that I'll only stay at Aman because they are Aman, because of the wonderful service and every touch point that they provide, I think that's brand loyalty. Now, you don't have to look at the frivolous design or architecture or the amenities that you are providing to bring across that brand loyalty, but if Aman can bring it about because of the simplicity, but the wonderful experience that they're giving, there's something for us to take away from what Aman is trying to do. 20% of your customers will give you 80% of the revenue. So instead of looking at everybody, if we can build that emotional connection with our 20%, even if our customers look like this, very important to us. However, if you look at many companies and if you ask yourself, how much of time and effort do you put into branding, you'll realize that very little amount of resources, and I'm talking about not only money, financial resources, but I'm also looking at human resources, very little is put into branding. Now when you invest very little into branding, how then do you expect a strong brand to be the outcome of your strategy? The other thing that is found in research is that when you talk to people, 53% of the people said, yes, we have a long-term brand strategy, but 80% of the people do not quite understand, or they are not able to articulate what is this brand. It's not only this research. Whenever I do training, I spend at least the first 2 hours talking to people and asking them, what is your organization's branding? Including when I do customer service for hotels, to hospitality business, and so forth, the first 2 hours I always ask them, what is the brand of your hotel? What's your value proposition? And believe me, almost 99% of the staff cannot articulate what's their brand. What does it stand for? They are not able to tell me what is their brand value and what is the brand proposition. And even if they are memorizing it, I ask them, what does that mean? How do you translate that particular brand value into your day-to-day operation? Almost 100% are not able to tell me how they translate their brand into their day-to-day business. So you can ask yourself over here, and I'll be very surprised if I see at least 20% of you telling me you know what is your hotel's brand value. If 20% of you can tell me what is your brand's value proposition and how you translate that to a day-to-day implementation in what you do, I'll be very surprised to hear if it's more than 20%. Maybe you want to do this exercise the moment you go back into your hotels. Today is Thursday. You can start asking your staff. And at least 20% of your staff is able to say what your brand value is all about. Congratulate yourself. But if less than 20%, then I think it's good for us to ask ourselves, are we really talking about our brand to the people who are basically in touch with our customers? That is your internal branding exercise. So what is it that all these big brands have? And I'm not saying that they are all successful, but many of them are successful. Just 4 things. There are many other things, but I want to touch on the 4 important things. One is the brand promise. What is it that you're promising people? Are you promising or over-promising and under-delivering? In branding exercise, if you over-promise and under-deliver, I think that's almost close to suicide. Right? The other thing that I would really want to touch on is internal branding of your own staff. How much are you spending on the upgrading of your staff so that they can be your brand ambassadors? In just a while, I want to touch on that one. Then the brand story, as I mentioned to you, we are all about, like Ofra, talking about brand stories and our brand experience. So what's your brand promise? If you look at your brand, what is it that you are promising to your customers or to your staff? So go back on Thursday and ask your staff, what is it that we are promising our customers? And I'm not saying to pick up your vision or your mission and say this is our promise, but look really into, in the business of hospitality, what is your promise to your customers? So what is the meaning of promise? It's really about what value that you are promising your customers. What's the benefit that your customers? I'm going to give you an example. It's just one sentence that I got. In terms of any long-term relationship, it's really about passion, it's about relationship building, and brand is about creating that emotion and about the passion. So what is this promise that you're giving? So you have your slides, I think in your thumb drives. If you could just go back and do this exercise with your staff and ask them, who are we? It's almost to asking yourself, what's your personality? And if I ask anyone here, what's your personality? Beyond the first description, you will get stuck. You can try asking yourself today when you go back, what's my personality? And after the first word, many of us get stuck. It's like, what is our personality? When you are so closely connected with yourself, and it's difficult for you to talk about who are you and what's your personality, imagine the difficulty that you are going to be facing when you look at the personality of your hotel. So the exercise that you could do when you go back is, what is your personality of your hotel? What is that we stand for? Who are we? And what are we representing to our customers? It's not a simple exercise, because when you look at this, it might be able to give you a little bit of an understanding. Disney. How many of you have been to Disney? You love Disney? think it brings the child in all of us. It brings the fun element in all of us. Why does it bring the fun element? It's a huge organization. But from what I have learned about Disney, I've spoken to people who have worked in Disney. The primary thing of the success behind Disney is the value proposition that everybody in Disney believes in. Now, what do I mean by that? Disney is basically about fun. When you look at their mission statement or whatever, they only talk about having fun. And do they believe in it? They believe in it. Number one, when they recruit staff, and they always ask the staff the first thing, do you know how to have fun? So if you want to be a sweeper in Disney, the interviewer will ask the person who has come for the interview, can you sweep happily? And if you really want a job, say, yeah, I can sweep happily. And they'll say, can you do a demonstration of sweeping happily? And if you can show how happily you sweep, then you can be a staff of Disney. If you want to make popcorn, they'll ask you, do you know how to make happy popcorn? So what's this happy popcorn? How can popcorn be happy? But it's about the happiness of the people who's making the popcorn. So when they recruit somebody for Disney to make popcorn, they ask somebody, can you make it happy? So anybody who wants to join Disney, they have to have the value of being happy. If you want to spread happiness in Disney, and if you are not happy, then how do you do that? So the people who come into Disney have to believe that they are happy. So it starts from the recruitment process. So when you ask yourself, what does your hotel stand for? And if you're recruiting staff who don't believe in the value, then I think something will go wrong along the way. Because your staff who are coming into your organization do not believe in your brand values. So we take from Disney how they actually bring across happiness in their organization. If you look at the American Express as a card, I mean, people feel proud, whether you use it or not. You want to have an American Express in your wallet. Why is it? It's because of the brand promise of having a privilege. So how many of your customers feel a privilege to stay in your hotel? And this is what American Express has promised to your customers. Nike is not in the business of selling shoes, but they are in the business of selling inspiration. That means to say, when you don a Nike shoe or a Nike outfit, what they're promising you is that you feel inspired to exercise. You feel inspired because of their innovation. So again, if you look at a hotel and what you can take from Nike, it's not about your product, but when people come and stay, do they feel the passion? Do they feel the emotion when they're walking through your hotel? This is some examples of, I like Haagen-Dazs. If I ask anybody, what is Haagen-Dazs trying to sell? Right? Most people will say ice cream. Right? Ice cream? But Haagen-Dazs is not in the business of selling ice cream. They are in the business of selling adult indulgence. Right? So it's a simple exercise for you. If you could go back and ask yourself, what is it that we are selling? What is this experience? It's not room, it's not ice cream, it's not shoes, but it's inspiration, it's indulgence. What is it that your hotel is selling? A very important exercise, right? If you look at some of the best brands in the world, one of the first things they do is that, what are we promising to our customers? The next thing I want to touch is on internal branding. As I mentioned to you, in my experience as a trainer and coming from the industry, almost 90 to 95% of the staff do not understand what is your brand, or what does your brand stand for. What is the value that you are promising to your customers? I have spoken to hoteliers who tell me, oh, we are upgrading our hotel. So what are you doing to upgrade your hotel? We are building new extension, we are building new rooms, we are upgrading our convention centers. So always ask them one thing, if this is part of your rebranding exercise and you're upgrading your rooms and your convention centers, when was the last time that you upgraded your staff? When was the last time? We talk about capacity building. Your staff are the pillars of your organization. So if you want to build a brand, then I think you have to build your staff first before you build your extensions, your rooms, to be able to be in line with your branding exercise. I'll share something with you. This is something that I think we are quite clear with.